In order to answer the question, what is this fire that we have in us that bakes the dough of wisdom into the bread of life? We have to dive deeper. And to that end, there are several very, very old stories about elephants. Now there's no doubt that you'll know that story about the time when there was a marauding general who wanted to take over a city, but in that city everyone was blind. So the marauding general decided to ride a huge elephant into town to intimidate the people. And when he arrived in the city people got together and delegated several amongst them to go and check out what this elephant was. So one of them felt his trunk, another one felt his hide, another one felt his leg, another one felt his ear. And when they got together to tell the rest of the people what an elephant was, of course one was describing it as being soft and round and wavy, and another one was describing it like a tree trunk, and another one was describing it like an armadillo, and another tough and leathery, and another one was describing it. And so there was a great deal of dissension and a fight amongst all of the people. And that's how the marauding general took over the city. And there's that other old story about the young seeker who found himself in a group that said that everything was God, we are God, everything is God. So this put the young seeker in a state of absolute euphoria. So after the meeting he walked down the street when all of a sudden people started to shout, wild elephant, get out of the way, get out of the way. But this young seeker was in such a state of everything is God. He didn't move out of the road. So the elephant came along and gave him one good kick with his great foot and tossed him into the gutter, battered and bleeding, where he lay when people came over to tend to him. And he was saying that everything is God, everything is God. And they said to him, well, why didn't you listen when God told you to get out of the way? And then there's a story about a gnat. You know, one of those no-see-ums, or midges we call them. And his name was Namoo. And he was actually called Namoo the Perceptive, because he'd travelled wide in the world in his youth. But he was ready to settle down and have a family. So he found the ear of an elephant. So, having learned the ways of life and the protocols, he shouted at the top of his voice, I'm taking over residence in your ear. Well, the elephant didn't make any comments about this, so Namoo settled in the ear of the elephant very comfortably. He lived a good life. He raised several families of gnats who came and went in his life, until he finally decided that yes, after these years of comfort in this wonderful warm ear, it was time for him to go back out into the world again. So he shouted, I'm now leaving your ear. But there was no response from the elephant. So he shouted even louder, "Did you hear me? Thank you, great beast. I'm now leaving your ear." Well, finally his words filtered through to the very great beast, who just shook his head in wonder, because he hadn't even known that the gnat had come, so he certainly wasn't concerned about its going. And then there's that old story about the group of would-be dervishes who decided to go on a pilgrimage, and they had to take an ocean journey. But the ship foundered and broke up on the rocks on a beach, and they found themselves with nothing. No food, no water. So, being would-be dervishes, they all gathered around in a group to pray, and it was decided that each of them would make a vow if they were saved. So each one in turn came up with their vow. One was saying, "Yes, if we are saved, I am going to treat my wife better. I'm going to take care of her in ways I've never taken care of her before." Another one said, "I'm going to make a pilgrimage to Mecca." Another one said, "I'm going to go yearly to a shrine." Another one said, "I'm going to pray every day." But then it came to a certain dervish, would-be dervish, or maybe he was a dervish. And as he sat pondering, the thought came to him, and he discarded it. "No, I can't make that vow." But then it was there to be said. So he said it. That which came to his lips was, "I will never eat elephant." Now, after all of this was completed, it was decided that each would go exploring to see if they could find food and water. And after some while, there was a shout from the surrounding forest of that place. One of the would-be dervishes shouted to the others, "I have found a baby elephant. I have killed it. We have food to eat." The baby elephant was brought back to the beach, and they made a fire, and the baby's flesh was distributed amongst them, except for the dervish who had made his vow, "I will not eat elephant flesh." Everyone ate their fill, and then they lay down to sleep. But suddenly, everyone was awoken by the great angry trumpeting of an elephant. The female elephant came into their camp, and with her trunk sniffed each one of the would-be dervishes and trampled each one of them under her great feet, until she came to the dervish who had made his vow and not eaten elephant flesh. She sniffed him thoroughly, and then very gently lifted him onto her back and lumbered off into the forest until she came to a roadway which led to a village. She gently lowered the dervish from her back and lumbered off into the forest. So the question that arises out of these simple stories is, what does the elephant represent in each one of these tales? What does this elephant represent for us? Asking the question, what is this fire in us that bakes the dough of wisdom into the bread of life? These stories are like the flour, the yeast and the water. We need our sugar to meld them so that they turn into the dough. Our dough, our wisdom, our knowing, ever ready to be baked in the fire that we have, to emerge as the bread of life. Take your sugar and allow these stories to become your dough. Divine Mother used to have a saying, I've put all the tapes inside of you, and when you need to use them, they'll be there. But we have our metaphor, the bread.